Hello everyone, welcome to CGM, Comics Games Media. Today is officially Batman Day, so I thought the best way to celebrate would be by doing a review. So I'm going to be reviewing Batman / Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, written by James Tynion IV, art by Freddie E. Williams, and coloring by Jeremy Conwell. So this book is brought by DC Comics and IDW, because currently IDW is doing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comics. So this book is pretty much a fan letter to anyone who loves both these properties. Anyone who grew up with these series is pretty much your childhood coming back to life in an epic crossover. It has all the similar traits of what you expect from a crossover, but it's still a really fun book and it's really enjoyable. I was super excited when I heard the announcement of this book because these two properties were pretty much my entire childhood. Having Batman action figures and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles action figures and having them just playing with them together is pretty much what happened in this book. So seeing that be realized in comic book form was really awesome. So I'll give you a quick overview before I head into spoilers, because I'm going to show some images and tell a little bit about the storyline. But my spoiler-free impression is, if you're a fan of these properties and you want to see the interaction between the characters, definitely pick this up. It's a lot of fun reading this. However, if you're expecting like a really deep, engaging story, you're not going to find that. But again, it's a lot of fun just pretty much seeing these two worlds collide into each other. So as I mentioned before, this book is a lot of fun. There's a lot of humor in this book. James Tynion IV, he knows how to capture the personalities of all the turtles in this. If you're a fan of like the 2003 Turtles, the IDW Turtles, the current Nickelodeon Turtles, you won't pretty much, he characterizes each of these personalities of the characters, and then there's a lot of humor because of their interactions with Batman. You see Donnie geeking out of all of his technology, his Batcomputer, his Batmobiles. You see Mikey geeking out because he's just a cool vigilante superhero with all these cool equipments and this mythos. Raph, being the stubborn, tough guy that he is, he doesn't trust him. He thinks Batman is crazy, he's a lunatic. What kind of guy dresses up as a bat and he's a vigilante? And then Leonardo is just impressed by his fighting skills and his detective prowess. There's a lot of humor in this book, as I mentioned earlier. There's a couple good moments in each of these issues. One example being the first issue, when Killer Croc enters the Turtles' lair and he crushes Mikey's video game, and Mikey's like, "No, my pony erasers!" Another example would be in the second issue. One of my favorite moments is when Mikey is drawing a Venn diagram after the Turtles had their first encounter with Batman, and Mikey's writing all the pros and cons of what they think of him. And so Mikey writes, he has a rad suit, he's got like a sick car. However, on the bad side though, he beat them up and he has this mean voice, and he's still Raph's size, so that was hilarious. Another moment I really enjoyed was when the Turtles start working with Batman, and they're having their first fight together. You hear Batman order Leonardo, and Leonardo's like, "Yes, sir!" And Raph looks at him and is like, "Sir, really?" And Leonardo's like, "Shut up, Raph!" So as I mentioned earlier, James Tynion IV is great at portraying the Turtles and nailing all the character interactions. He's great at writing Batman. Before this book, he was writing Batman Eternal, so he has great experience writing that and the family dynamic between him and like all the Robins and all the supporting cast members. Also, Alfred in this book is hilarious. The interaction between him and Mikey. You see Casey Jones and Damian Wayne, and they're exactly what you expect. There's also Shredder involved, and he's really great, and he interacts with some of the villains as well, like Penguin and Ra's al Ghul, and then you can see how menacing Shredder is in this book, because he sees, like, I'm not a big fan of the Penguin myself, so to see him just like intimidate Penguin, it was like really nice to see. And also Splinter is a really great addition. You can see him in the first interaction when the Turtles are fighting Batman. You see Splinter come in and interfere with the fight and just like breaks it up, and you can see like he can just hold his own with Batman too, which is very impressive. I really enjoyed the artwork in this book as well. The designs and the color schemes of how it's drawn and laid out here is really well done. Most of the models are pretty good. The only inconsistency I found was sometimes Batman, he's drawn a little bit too large and out of proportion for like some specific panels, but then later on it is toned down for the rest of them. However, everything else looks really amazing. There's some really nice shots in there. So another thing I loved about the art is that showing in the fight choreography in some of the panels, some of the images are faded in order to show the motion of how the characters are moving, which I really enjoyed. There's also this really nice panel or page of Batman versus Shredder, and in the background of the main image you see like about 20 different small panels of all the images of them fighting, and it looks really well done. One other thing I didn't like though was the design of the Batmobile. For some reason it just looked a little weird. The spikes that I was pointing out, it felt like it looked like almost like cat whiskers, and like the face in the front, I'm not a huge fan of that. It's more of the, looks like it's kind of similar to some of the older Batmobile designs. And another great thing I loved about the writing in this book is, so James Tynion IV, as I mentioned, he wrote Batman and Robin Eternal. He's great at doing those character moments between like the family relationships between like the Robins and Batman and all the other supporting cast members. So he nails that with the Ninja Turtles. You can see when Raph, he's really pissed off about trusting Batman, and he just walks out of the cave, and you see Batman talking to him, and he nails that emotion when you're telling him about his origin story and Raph feeling sympathy for him. And also in the last issue when you hear about the Turtles, where Raph is just like giving a speech to them, it's like, we can't go home yet, guys. We can't just leave this guy who lost his family trying to protect us. We gotta go back and help him. And lastly, the climax at the end of the book, I felt it was a little, I guess, overwhelming, kind of cheesy, but in a good way, I guess. But so what happens is, because of the Ninja Turtles book, they took the mutagen and they used it on all the supervillains and then mutated them to all animals. So the thing is, it was a cool concept. It's fun to see in a crossover book like this, but because there's so many villains thrown at once and you only get a couple pages to see them actually fighting, like you can see Mr. Freeze is a polar bear, and like Poison Ivy's an insect, and Joker's a snake. They're cool images and everything, but you don't get enough time to focus on it that much. And again, it's on a large scale, so it is like overwhelming. So as I mentioned earlier, I would highly recommend this for anyone who's a fan of both Ninja Turtles and Batman. This is pretty much, again, your childhood brought to life in comic book format, and it's really fun and entertaining to read. So I hope they get a chance to do a sequel to this book, because I really enjoyed this. I will hope maybe they can get the Batman to go to New York and the Ninja Turtles universe and interact with like Krang or Bebop and Rocksteady or the rest of the Foot Clan there, and maybe see like maybe the Robins interact with some of the Turtles, because I felt there was a similar dynamic with their like Nightwing being a leader and Leonardo being the leader, Donatello being the genius and Tim Drake being the genius, Raphael being the tough brute, and maybe Jason Todd being the brute as well, or maybe Damien, depending on how you want to interpret that. So that concludes my review of Batman / Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If you read the book, let me know your opinion in the comments below. What was your favorite moment, or what would you hope for in a sequel? I know they're going to do the animated crossover with the Batman and Nickelodeon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that they announced at San Diego Comic-Con 2016, but it's not going to be as similar to this. Thanks for watching, and have a good one, guys.